The sky above the alien world was heavy with dark green clouds. They swirled like boiling water, flashing with strange blue lightning. Ethan, a lone human explorer, stood on the rocky plain, scanning the area with his handheld mineral scanner. He was far from any city or outpost. Too far for quick help. The wind was sharp, carrying a chemical smell that burned his throat. His scanner beeped, showing traces of rare minerals in the ground. He was about to dig when his helmet alarm screamed. "Acid rain incoming," the robotic voice warned. Ethan's heart jumped. He knew the danger. Acid rain here didn't just sting. It melted through metal and flesh in seconds. He looked around for shelter, but the plain was wide and empty. Only jagged rocks and sharp cliffs stood in the distance. Then he saw movement. Far ahead, a figure was struggling. It looked like a woman, covered in a dark hooded cloak, trapped under fallen metal beams. Without thinking, Ethan ran. The first drops of rain began to fall, sizzling where they touched the ground. Small holes formed in the dust, releasing a bitter smoke. The woman tried to free herself, but couldn't. Ethan reached her and pulled at the beams, his suit's strength enhancers whining. Finally, the metal shifted, and he grabbed her arm, pulling her close. Her hood slipped slightly, revealing pale skin with a faint glow, and eyes the color of silver. She said nothing, only stared at him with a strange calm. The rain was falling faster now. Ethan activated his personal shield, a glowing dome that hissed as the acid hit it. He wrapped one arm around her and moved toward the cliffs, searching for a cave. The ground under them steamed. The air was heavy with toxic fumes. Ethan's suit kept him safe, but the woman wore no armor. Some drops landed on her cloak, burning small holes. He pulled her closer, trying to block the rain with his own body. Her eyes flickered, not with fear, but with something unreadable. They reached a narrow crack in the cliffside, just big enough to squeeze inside. Ethan pushed her in first, then followed the shield, flickering out as they stepped into darkness. Inside, it was dry, the sound of rain echoing outside like constant static. Ethan's breathing was loud in his helmet. He turned to the woman. "Are you hurt?" She didn't answer. Her silver eyes seemed to study him, as if measuring something. He knelt beside her and inspected the burns on her arm. The skin was damaged, but before his eyes it began to heal, the angry red fading into smooth, pale flesh. Ethan's eyebrows rose. "You heal fast," he muttered. Still, she said nothing, only pulled her cloak tighter. Outside, flashes of blue lightning lit up the cave entrance. Ethan sat across from her, still catching his breath. "What were you doing out there?" he asked. She looked away, avoiding the question. The silence grew heavy, filled only by the hiss of rain outside. Then Ethan noticed something strange. Shadows moved at the edge of the storm, not caused by the wind. He crawled to the entrance and peered out. Through the sheets of acid rain, he saw shapes, tall, metallic, moving with purpose. Drones. They floated above the ground, scanning the area with red beams. Ethan's stomach tightened. These were not normal survey drones. They were search units, and they seemed to be looking for someone. He turned back to the woman. "Are they after you?" She stayed silent, but her grip on her cloak tightened. That was all the answer he needed. The drones came closer, their scanning beams sweeping the cliffs. Ethan ducked back inside, pulling her deeper into the shadows. He whispered, "Stay quiet." The drones' red lights passed over the entrance but did not stop. After a long minute, they moved away, disappearing into the mist. Ethan let out a slow breath. The woman was still watching him, her silver eyes unreadable. Finally she spoke, her voice soft but carrying a strange authority. "You should not have helped me." Ethan frowned. "Why?" "Because," she said, "now they will hunt you too." Ethan leaned back against the cave wall, staring at her. Her words carried weight. Whoever she was in trouble. The storm outside roared, the acid rain eating into the land somewhere. Out there, the drones were circling back, and Ethan realized this was not just a rescue. This was the start of something much bigger. The woman lowered her hood completely. Her face was unlike any he had seen. Beautiful, strange, and almost royal. Ethan didn't know it yet, but the stranger he had just saved was no ordinary traveler. She was someone powerful, someone dangerous, and now their fates were tied together forever. The storm outside had not stopped, but Ethan knew they could not stay in the cave forever. The woman sat near the entrance, watching the acid rain like it was an old enemy. She still had not told him her name. Ethan packed his gear and checked his ship's location on the scanner. It was 2 kilometers away, on the other side of the cliffs. "We move now," he said. "Before the drones come back." She rose silently, moving with a strange grace even in the tight space of the cave. They stepped out into the rain, the shield on Ethan's suit flaring to life once more. He stayed close to her, the glowing barrier protecting them as they hurried across the steaming rocks. The air was thick with the hiss of falling acid. Her hood was back up, hiding her face. Ethan tried not to look at the silver eyes that seemed to see through him. When they reached the ship, Ethan quickly unlocked the hatch and helped her inside. The airlock hissed shut, and the sound of the storm faded. The ship's interior was small but functional: a cockpit, a small living area, and a cargo bay. She looked around like she had never been inside a human craft before. Her gaze lingered on the walls, the flickering lights, and the hum of the engines. Ethan set the course for the nearest safe zone. It would take a day to get there. She sat in the co-pilot's seat. Silent, he offered her water, food, but she only shook her head. Her attention was fixed on the stars outside the viewport. The silver in her eyes reflected the starlight. Finally, Ethan broke the silence. "You going to tell me your name?" She didn't look at him. "Names have power," she said quietly. "That's a strange answer." Ethan replied, "But all right, I'll call you passenger for now." Hours passed. The hum of the ship filling the air. Ethan dozed off. In the pilot's chair, the woman, the passenger, moved quietly to the communications console. Her fingers danced across the controls with precision. She entered a long sequence of codes no human would recognize. A hidden channel opened, and she spoke in a language of musical tones and clicks. Far away, in the cold emptiness of space, a massive alien warship adjusted its course. Its engines burned brighter, heading straight toward Ethan's location. When Ethan woke, the passenger was back in her seat, her face unreadable. They traveled in silence until a warning light flashed on the console. Proximity alert. Ethan looked at the radar. Something was following them. Not one ship, but 3, closing fast. He swore under his breath and increased speed. The passenger leaned forward, her eyes narrowing. "They will not stop," she said. "They will chase until I am taken or they are destroyed." Ethan shot her a sharp look. "So you admit they're after you?" She didn't answer, but her silence was all the confirmation he needed. The ships behind them began to spread out. A hunting pattern. Ethan's hands tightened on the controls. "You're going to have to tell me what's going on," he said. Her gaze stayed on the approaching blips on the radar. "They are not soldiers," she finally said. "They are hunters, and I am their prize." The first shot hit a beam of bright energy that rocked the ship. Ethan cursed and swerved, alarms blaring. The passenger remained calm, almost too calm. "Turn toward the asteroid belt," she said. Ethan stared at her. "That's suicide." She met his eyes, and for the first time, he saw something behind the silver, not fear, but command. "Do it," she ordered, her voice leaving no room for argument. Ethan gritted his teeth and steered into the dense field of spinning rocks. The pursuing ships followed, firing as they came. The passenger closed her eyes, her lips moving in a language he didn't know. One by one, the smaller asteroids shifted in their paths. It was as if an invisible force guided them. Several slammed into the hunters, sending 2 of the ships spinning away. Ethan stared at her in shock. "What did you just do?" Her eyes opened again, glowing faintly. "I protected us," she said simply. "The way you protected me." Only one hunter remained, but it did not retreat. Ethan tightened his grip on the controls. The passenger leaned back in her seat, her hood falling away, her silver eyes locked on the enemy ship. "This is only the beginning," she whispered, "and now you are part of it." The last hunter ship stayed behind them like a shadow. It didn't rush to attack. It just followed, watching. Ethan felt it in his gut. They were being herded. The passenger sat silently in the co-pilot seat, her eyes never leaving the enemy ship on the radar. Her calm was unnerving. "Who are they?" Ethan asked again, but she only replied, "They will show themselves soon." The hunter ship made its move, closing the distance fast. A sharp beam of energy lanced across the cockpit window, grazing the shields. Ethan pulled the ship into a hard turn, but they were faster. A metallic thud echoed through the hull. Ethan's blood ran cold. A boarding clamp. "They're latching on," he said. The passenger stood, her cloak flowing behind her as if moved by an unseen wind. Her voice was steady. "Then we face them here." Warning lights flashed as the airlock cycled. Heavy boots thudded against the metal floor. Ethan grabbed his pulse rifle from the wall. Checking the charge, the passenger carried no weapon, only pulled her hood low and waited. The door to the cargo bay burst open, and 3 armored figures stepped inside. Their armor was black, marked with jagged symbols that glowed faint red. Their helmets hid their faces, but their voices were deep and mechanical. "Step away from the target, human," one of them said. Ethan raised his rifle. "She's under my protection." The lead hunter tilted his head slightly. "Then you die first." They moved fast, splitting into 2 flanks. Ethan fired, the blue bolt striking their armor but only slowing them. The passenger didn't move, didn't flinch. The second hunter raised a weapon toward Ethan, but before it could fire, the air shimmered. The hunter froze mid-step, its limbs locking as if caught in invisible chains. Ethan stared. The passenger's hand was raised, her fingers curling slowly with a single motion. She flung the armored soldier into the wall, the metal denting from the impact. The other 2 hesitated. "She is unsealed," one hissed to the other. The passenger pulled back her hood, revealing her full face. Her silver eyes burned with light. Her voice was like a blade. "Tell Varkish he will not take me alive." The hunters exchanged a glance, then attacked together. Ethan dove behind a crate, firing at one while the other charged the passenger. She moved like flowing water, sidestepping and touching the attacker's helmet. A flash of energy surged through it, and the figure collapsed, lifeless. The last hunter realized the fight was lost. It tapped a device on its wrist, and a pulse of static filled the bay. Before Ethan could fire, the hunter vanished in a burst of light, teleported back to its ship. The boarding clamp released, and the hunter vessel began to pull away. Ethan lowered his rifle, breathing hard. He turned to the passenger. "You want to tell me what that was?" She looked at him for a long moment, then said, "That was a warning." Ethan frowned. "From them to you?" Her eyes glimmered in the dim light. "No," she said quietly. "From me to them, outside." The hunter ship faded into the darkness of space, but Ethan had the sinking feeling it wasn't gone for good. This was only the first wave asterisk. Hunter's ship had vanished into the starfield, but the air inside Ethan's craft was heavy. Ethan sat in the pilot's chair, staring at the controls. The passenger stood by the viewport, her gaze fixed on the endless dark. He broke the silence. "First, you want to tell me what's going on?" Her voice was calm, almost too calm. "If I tell you, you may wish you had left me in the rain." Ethan leaned back, his hands gripping the armrests. "You've already put a target on my back." He said, "I deserve to know why." The passenger turned slowly, her cloak shifting like liquid shadow. "There is a war," she said. "Not the kind you humans see on your homeworld, but one fought in shadows, in councils, and in bloodlines." She walked closer, her silver eyes never leaving his. "My people are divided," she continued. "Some want peace with the outer worlds, others want domination." Ethan frowned. "And you're on which side?" Her lips curved faintly. "The losing one." Before he could ask more, The ship's console beeped. A long-range scan showed multiple ships moving in the same vector as theirs. Ethan checked the display. Large signatures. Military class. They're still tracking us, he muttered. The passenger's gaze flicked to the screen. Those are not hunters, she said. Those are soldiers of the house. Ethan's brow furrowed. Your house? She didn't answer, but the way her jaw tightened told him enough. He felt the storm outside was nothing compared to the storm in her mind. Why are they after you? He asked. Her voice was low. Because my existence threatens the crown. Before. Ethan could press further. The ship shuddered, not from weapons fire, but from a sudden jump in gravity. The display showed a massive vessel emerging from warp space ahead of them. It was not shaped like the hunter craft. This was grander. Covered in gold and black armor, glowing with energy, Ethan's stomach tightened. That's not a patrol ship, is it? The passenger's tone was cold. No, that is a royal flagship. The comms panel lit up. An incoming transmission. A deep, commanding voice filled the cockpit. Unidentified human vessel. You are carrying a fugitive of the Valyrian throne. Prepare to surrender her. Ethan looked at her, his eyes sharp. Valyrian, is that your people? Her silver eyes seemed to harden like metal. Yes, she said. And the voice you hear belongs to Varkish, the man who will burn entire worlds to claim what is mine. Ethan glanced at the weapon controls. So what now? Do we fight? She stepped closer, lowering her voice. If you fight now, we die. Her fingers moved across his console with swift precision. Entering a set of coordinates Ethan didn't recognize. What are you doing? He asked, choosing the only place they will not follow. She replied, a faint flicker of something. Pain or determination passed across her face. The flagship began to move, blocking their escape path. Varkish's voice came again. Colder this time. You cannot run forever, little shadow. The passenger's eyes narrowed. Watch me, she whispered. She pressed the final command, and Ethan's ship shuddered violently as the jump drive engaged. The stars stretched into white streaks, the royal flagship vanishing behind them. In the silence that followed, Ethan turned to her. You're going to have to start explaining things in full. Her gaze dropped to the floor. When we reach safety, you will know everything. But Ethan could tell from the weight in her voice that safety was a word she no longer believed in. The jump drive cooled with a low hum. Ethan's ship drifted above a lush green moon, its surface covered in mist and silver rivers. It was quiet here. No ships on the scanner. No transmissions in the comms. The passenger, still hooded, stood by the viewport, her eyes following the patterns of light across the moon's surface. This place is hidden, she said. Your enemies can't find it? Ethan asked. Not unless someone betrays it, she replied softly. They landed in a small clearing surrounded by tall, crystalline trees. The air shimmered with energy, making Ethan's skin prickle. This moon. It's alive, he muttered. The passenger stepped out first, her boots barely disturbing the moss-like ground. She led him toward an ancient ruin, massive stone pillars covered in alien runes. In the center stood a statue of a woman, her head held high, wearing a crown. Shaped like a ring of silver fire, Ethan stopped, his eyes widening, the statue's face. It was hers. You've got to be kidding me, he said. The passenger lowered her hood, her silver eyes reflecting the light. This is the truth you've been asking for. She said, my name is Lyra Valen, heir to the royal house of Valyra. Ethan took a slow step back, trying to process it. You're a princess? He asked, his voice sharp. Not just a princess, she corrected. The last living heir to the throne. She touched the base of the statue, and the crown above it began to glow. Energy flowed from the stone into her hands, wrapping around her in threads of silver light. Ethan stared. That's not just decoration, is it? Her voice was steady. It is the crown of binding, a symbol of unity to my people, and a weapon to my enemies. The air shifted, as if the forest itself was listening. Ethan frowned. So the acid rain. The hunters, Varkesh. All of this was because you're next in line? Lyra's eyes darkened. Because I refused to be their weapon. They tried to erase me. She turned away, her gaze distant. My people believe I am dead, only Varkish. And his loyal hunters know the truth. Ethan crossed his arms. And now they know I'm with you. Lyra met his eyes, which means you are in the storm with me. Whether you wish it or not. Before Ethan could reply, the ground beneath them pulsed with light. Holographic images appeared around the ruin. Scenes of alien cities, warships, and battlefields. A vision of Varkish standing over a burning city filled the air. Lyra's voice was low. This is what will happen if he takes the crown. Ethan took a deep breath, his instincts screaming at him to walk away. But something in Lyra's expression stopped him, not just strength, but a quiet, lonely weight. He tightened his grip on his rifle. Then I guess we make sure he doesn't. Lyra's lips curved into the faintest smile. Then you are more than a rescuer now, Ethan, she said. You are my protector. Above the forest, hidden in the clouds, faint metallic shapes moved. The silence of the moon was about to break, and the game for the crown had truly begun. Asterisk, the first sound was faint, a low hum in the air. Ethan knew it instantly, the approach of dropships. He and Lyra stood in the center of the ruin, the glowing crown still floating above the statue. Lyra's eyes lifted to the treetops. They found us, she said calmly. Ethan tightened his grip on his rifle. Then we make them regret it. They moved fast, setting up defenses. Ethan dragged fallen branches and metal wreckage into choke points between the crystal trees. He rigged explosives from the ships. Emergency supply, burying them under moss and stone. Lyra walked silently through the forest, touching the trees with her fingertips. Where she passed, the crystalline bark began to glow faintly. Ethan noticed. What are you doing? Waking the forest, she replied. It will defend itself, and us. The first dropship broke through the clouds, spraying acid-resistant smoke over the trees. Ethan crouched behind a rock, rifle ready. Armored soldiers poured out, black and gold plating gleaming in the filtered light. Their visors locked onto the ruins. The lead commander's voice echoed, "Surrender the air, and the human will be spared." Ethan smirked under his breath. Not happening. The soldiers advanced in formation. Ethan waited until they stepped into the first trap. A hidden charge detonated, sending a shockwave through the ground. The blast tore through the lead ranks, and the crystal trees reacted, their branches snapping down like spears. Shards of razor-sharp crystal fell, slicing through armor. The survivors fired blindly into the forest, their shots shattering more crystal and releasing bursts of blinding light. Lyra stepped forward, the silver glow in her eyes burning brighter. With a sweep of her hand, the shards on the ground rose into the air, spinning like a storm of knives. The soldiers hesitated, then the shards shot forward, cutting through their lines. Ethan took down stragglers with precise bursts from his rifle. But more dropships descended, the hum growing into a roar. This isn't the main force yet, Ethan warned. Lyra's voice was steady. Varkish is coming. The sky split open as a massive black shape descended. It wasn't a dropship. It was a personal war skiff, sleek and armored. The side hatch opened before it even touched the ground. A towering figure stepped out, his armor dark as obsidian, marked with the crest of the Valyrian Royal Guard. Varkish, his voice rolled like thunder. You've run far enough, Lyra. Lyra's reply was cold. You've ruled by fear long enough. Ethan positioned himself between them, rifle aimed at Varkish's chest. The commander didn't even flinch. Move aside, human, and I will let you live. Ethan's grip tightened. Not happening. Varkish's gauntlet flared with energy, and a beam shot toward Ethan. Lyra moved faster than he could react, raising her hands. The beam split against an invisible barrier, the air rippling around her. The ground trembled, the forest groaning, like it felt her anger. You will not take the crown, she said. Varkish smiled coldly. Then I will take your life. The jungle erupted as the final wave of soldiers crashed through the trees. Ethan and Lyra stood back to back, the battle raging around them. The glow from the crown above the statue pulsed in time with Lyra's heartbeat. The last stand had begun, and there would be no retreat. The battle raged in flashes of light and shadow. Crystal shards flew through the air, soldiers fell, and the forest roared with a life of its own. Ethan's rifle was nearly overheated, but he kept firing, covering Lyra as she moved toward Varkesh. The commander cut down her defenses with brutal swings of his energy blade. Sparks lit the air each time it struck her shield. "Your people will never follow you." Varkesh growled. "They will when they see you fall," Lyra replied, her voice steady like stone. Ethan saw an opening. He slid under a falling branch and fired at Varkesh's shoulder joint. The shot hit. His armor sparking and locking briefly, Lyra seized the moment. Pressing her palm to the crown of binding, still floating above the statue, the silver fire surged down her arms, wrapping her in a radiant glow. Varkesh's eyes widened. "No!" Her hand shot forward, the energy striking him like a wave. The force lifted him off his feet, slamming him against the war skiff. The ground beneath him cracked from the impact. His blade flickered and died. Ethan approached, rifle aimed. But Lyra raised a hand. "Not his life," she said. "Let him return in shame so they know the truth." Varkesh's gaze burned with hate. "You think this changes anything?" He spat. "It changes everything," Lyra answered, her voice echoing with power. Two surviving royal guards emerged from the forest, their armor marked with the crest of loyalty. They knelt before her, bowing their heads. "My queen," they said as one. Ethan's eyes widened. "Queen?" Lyra turned to him, the glow fading slowly. "The moment I touched the crown, the choice was made." She stepped closer, her expression softer now. "And I choose to keep you at my side, if you will stay." Ethan glanced at the forest, the wreckage, and the still smoking war skiff. "This wasn't exactly what I signed up for," he said, a half-smile forming. "But I'm in." Lyra's lips curved into a faint smile. "Then you are more than my protector, Ethan," she said quietly. "You are my first ally." The forest fell silent again, the sky clearing too. Revealed twin moons shining above, but high in the atmosphere. Far beyond the clouds, dark shapes moved. They were not Varkesh's ships, they were something else. Ethan followed Lyra's gaze upward. "More trouble?" Her voice was calm, but her eyes told a different story. "Always," she said, "but we will face it together." The camera of the moment, if there had been one, would have pulled back, showing the Queen of Valera and the human who saved. Her standing among the ruins, the crown's glow fading into the night, a fragile piece in a dangerous galaxy, and the beginning of something neither of them could yet imagine.